has been, yeah, which has caused a lot of heaviness and a lot of conflict and stuff. And then the new moon is going to be in Cancer.
Yeah, Cancer. I love Cancer energy. It's my favorite energy. Yeah. All my friends are like Cancer. It's really overwhelming being me in July because it's everyone's birthdays. Literally bang, 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 bang. Like Cancer all around me. It's so weird.
Yeah. So basically I was reading what's the lady who's the moonology, like Kirsty Gallagher. And she was just basically saying, you know, just try where possible just to try and go with this energy. And if you can work with it, then, you know, you'll get through it. But yeah, no, I thought that was very interesting about the T-square.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard a bit about that, but I might do a bit more reading on it. But yeah, that would make sense because I've had, well, like I said last week, I was like I was definitely just blaming the atmosphere, but it's good if there's actually something going on.
Yeah.
Me just saying it's the moon.
Yeah, and then interestingly also, I was reading in my spiritual magazine that there is actually something called summer fatigue.
Oh, really? Well, just because of the nature of the fact that things are a lot more fast-paced?
Yes, yeah, it actually exists, and apparently the Japanese are very into this, and I thought it was a really interesting article. I'll have to copy it and send it to you. Yeah,
please do. That would be really interesting. Perfect. Awesome. And Sophia is also wearing a yellow / mustard. Yes. So we are all coordinating today.
Fiona has got yellow in her background.
I know, I love her chair. Fiona, I always comment on your chair, don't I? Like, the first thing I asked you, I was like, just give me that chair in my life. Oh, how funny. Right, we'll wait for Francesca to come back. Emma's here, and Janie's not joining us because Janie had an interview today for a new role.
Oh, wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, so she's just feeling a little bit kind of exhausted, but I'm sure she'll share a little more with us about that in due course. So yeah, lots to look forward to. Right, let's let Emma connect. So I've just let her in, but there we go. And then Lizzie, over to you, my love.
Good evening, everyone. Let's start off the session with so I'm doing 2 meditations today, but let's just start off with a short grounding meditation exercise just to get nice and settled and present in the moment. So getting yourselves nice and comfortably seated, perhaps placing your hands on your legs or on your knees, or you can have the palms on top of one another, and then just gently closing your eyes. And as you gently close your eyes, let's just begin by arriving. As you arrive, really start to become aware, tune into the space that you're in. And see if you can start to notice a sense of openness and expanse of that space. So the room, the house, outside of the house. And just for a moment, just observing for any external sensations. So becoming the witness, the bystander, the observer. And just noticing if there's any sounds. Can you allow those sounds to wash over you? And the temperature against your skin. And any smells in the room. So just observing with curiosity. And curiosity is meditation's friend. And then we're going to take ourselves from this outside space to the space within. As we go to the space within, just observing how you're feeling this evening. So just allow any thoughts, feelings, emotions to arise. Let them come up, just in relation to that question. And then can you perhaps gently, briefly pinpoint where they're arising from? And then can you perhaps, on your next inhale, consciously inhale, and I'd like you to send love down into that space where those emotions are coming from. And then I'd like you to just gently exhaling out any sort of tightness or tension around those emotions, those thoughts, those feelings. Again, taking a deep inhale, inhaling lots of loving energy, sending it down into that space, and then exhaling it all out. Let's take another deep inhale, and then exhaling it all out. As you exhale it all out, just start to allow your body to soften, the head to soften, the face to soften, the eyes, mouth, jaw. And you can allow the body to soften just to anchor and ground into it just a little bit more. So just taking your attention down to the feet. Just allow those feet to soften, allow their legs to soften, allow the knees to soften, and up to the pelvis, allow the pelvis to soften. And then from the pelvis, just moving up one vertebrae by vertebrae at a time, all the way up towards the neck, and then to the crown of the head. Allow your whole body to soften, including your mind. So if the mind is wandering, see if you can take your focus and your attention now on your breath. And I'd just like you to focus on the spontaneity of your breath. Just gently observing the rhythm and the quality. And if you're noticing a sense of tightness or the breath being a little bit shallow, see if you can just start to slow the inhales and slow those exhales. Steady inhale, steady exhale. Steady inhale and a steady exhale. Spending a few more moments here, just tuning into your breath, enjoying the breath, enjoying the softness of the breath. Okay, so coming back to center, just gently observing your internal environment. And then gently opening your eyes. Okay. Are we all feeling a little bit more grounded now? Excellent. So I'm going to be leading today's session, so I hope you all enjoy it. And yeah, today we're covering allies. So as we sort of briefly went into last week, allies essentially are tools, they're resources, they're symbols, they're images that we can refer to during times that we really need. So when we're looking for inspiration, or we're looking for strength, we're looking for courage, we're looking for power, we can use those tools to take us into that space, to give us that space to be in. So I'd like to just see how you all got on with the homework, the exercises. Does anyone want to volunteer? We all a bit shy this evening.
I'm happy to go. I actually found the allies easier than the leader within, although I think I might have just had a little breakthrough with that one as well. I kind of, I had quite a clear picture of some of them. I found the idea of an appreciator quite difficult.
It is a hard one, but I think if we can appreciate or find our appreciator, it's almost then the others become easy, because that's really a really tricky one for us, isn't it? I think.
And I think it ended up being something different. So I ended up thinking of what is an appreciator, somebody who doesn't judge. And actually the first thing that sprung to mind is Forrest Gump, which is not necessarily the most obvious answer, but he doesn't, he takes everything at face value, and it's very much open to whatever the opportunity is. And I really quite like that. But actually in the end, when I was thinking about him and the appreciator, it became more about appreciating bits in myself rather than worrying about was I being judgmental, for instance. That's kind of how I saw it first. So that was quite interesting that it flipped it on its head. But yeah, actually I really enjoyed, and I've already been using them, and I ask myself what would Steph do in this situation, or something like that, and it's been already quite useful. Not very particularly thought through, but yeah, I have been doing it. So.
But that's amazing, because you've taken that first step now. So it's, as Natalie mentioned in the homework, it's moving from that unconscious sort of thought space to the conscious thinking about bringing those allies into different situations when we need them. So that's amazing, Emma. That's great. And yeah, so that's really interesting. So as I'll be going through with you in a bit with the meditation, so it's about, once you've created that sort of headspace, so I think moving from like unconscious thoughts to conscious thoughts does sort of work with, where our brain and our mind is at. So if the brain is sort of very active and it's very chattery and there's a lot going on, then sometimes that can be a difficult place to be in when you're trying to refer to, obviously, your allies. But so, for example, with meditation, or just sitting quietly, taking some time to reflect, I think there's studies that do suggest that our brain waves, or we've got alpha to, I think it's theta brain waves. Our brain waves do really start to slow down in meditation. And when our brain waves slow down in meditation, that's when we move into the subconscious mind. And that's where we can really start to make decisions. So that's really interesting. So who else got on? How did everyone else get on? Who would like to volunteer to have a little chat? Hi, Maria.
I've not really progressed too far because I'm still sort of trying and listen to myself in terms of my leader, who was, briefly identified as a cat. Okay, and I still stand by this. But then in terms of my allies, I'm still trying to understand who that might be. I mean, in terms of the appreciator, it was really easy because I thought, following on from your example, Lizzie, I thought, bang on, it's my mom, definitely. Nobody else. It was very easy, and I think it feels very much right, And then I was actually thinking about another ally, and Michael Jackson came to mind, because I started to appreciate his music when I was a teenager, and now 20 years on, I'm still very much in love with all his work. All those stories aside, about whatever, not, it's not important. What is important is his music and his legacy. And I thought, well, it kind of emphasizes that I stand by what I believe in. I do not change in certain ways. I was like that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and I'm still the same. This is part of me. So I think one of my allies is definitely MJ.
Amazing.
I love that you just added that bit as well. I love that.
I was going to say, I mean, sometimes I think we can overcomplicate it a little bit when we're looking for allies. But I think it's about connecting to the words and the feelings, right? So if we're thinking about, because we're connecting this all to our values as well, aren't we? So, you know, if we've got a value that isn't being met and we want to meet that value, what sort of feelings can we bring up? What sort of words can we bring up? So it's about, you know, finding an ally, so someone who is inspiring to you that can bring about those words and those feelings. So yeah, it can be difficult sometimes thinking about, oh, how does that make me feel, or what words can I use to describe that ally as such. But yeah, just something to take into consideration if anyone else is struggling, right? Just thinking about the words and the feelings.
Yeah, I really like that. Maria, I have a question for you. When and what situation might Michael Jackson be able to help you with, like, I'm making a different name up there. Like, which situation might you bring him into, or be able to bring him into over the next few weeks that you could actively use him to support you?
I guess to, you know, carry on singing, which I love, because he was, you know, part of that path, you know, for me. So, and just, you know, whenever we sing, you know, or hum something to ourselves or just listen to music, it completely changes us for the better, you know. And sometimes I normally have my Apple subscription, you know, Apple Music, it's called, yeah, I think Apple Music, but sometimes I unsubscribe, and I notice a massive difference between, you know, the time that I listen to the music, you know, I have my playlist, and the time that I don't, and I feel that I actually missing out on loads, you know, when I don't. So really it's about this emotional connection, you know, and which brings out the best in me.
I love that.
You know,
yeah.
That's really nice.
Maybe it's like the encourager. It encourages you to
remember about music in our lives.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good one.
I
Sorry,
definitely
just
would.
jumping in there.
But I think COVID especially has actually really emphasized the importance of music in our lives and the healing powers of music as well, you know, visually, mentally, all sorts. Yeah. So I love, Maria, that you picked Michael Jackson. And anyone else? Would anyone else like to have a chat about her ally?
Mind going next? First, I have to apologise. I'm going to have to jump off at literally 7:30 today. I made a massive error of judgment and invited my friends over to watch the football. Completely forgot we were going
to finish at 7:30 for that reason. I thought a few people might be running somewhere or going somewhere, so we will finish on time. Don't worry.
I'm going to throw my daughter into bed and finish making the prawns. So I found this a bit funny. Like, I haven't gone through, sometimes I jump sections and mix it up, because sometimes I don't feel quite right about journaling things, and sometimes I just like to jot and go straight down. And when I saw your beautiful posters, I was just like, oh, I don't have this yet. This is what I haven't got to that sort of point of putting people in. And I was thinking about, I don't think I can create someone. I think I have to relate it to someone real, and I think it has to be a person rather than animals. When my brain was processing this, but I just took my pen and wrote down the first sort of 5 things that came to me, and bear with me. So I've got the heartbreaker. Now, that doesn't mean that but it's my inner, I don't necessarily feel very confident about my looks and being attracted. My husband is just the most amazing person at telling me how wonderful I look, but I just feel I'm not that, like, I think back when I was a bit younger, I was never all that, but you know, I felt more attracted then. I don't feel that, especially maybe after having kids, and you know, I don't feel as confident. So although I'm not trying to break hearts on it, but that's sort of that heartbreaker ally, is that you can do this and you actually still are attractive, and you know, and just trying to find that inner confidence in my physical appearance, which means quite a lot to me. I have the emo, which I know so it's natural. Like, I was very emo when I was a teenager. Loved the heavy music, loved the black eyeliner, and it was a part of me that I absolutely loved. And I think that kind of goes with the music side as well. I love Michael Jackson, one of my top people as well. But heavy rock as well, but same drum and bass, R&B. I love all of that music stuff. So I was emotional around music. So my emo is my person that the part of me that can be go back to that sort of teenage not giving a damn. I can listen to my rock music and just feel sort of confident in that way, and emotional, but in a positive way. I never found that people have emo connotations of being emotional in this, but it was a good thing for me. And then I have the defender, and I think that's very much the mothering part of me, and not just for my daughter, but for my friends, and standing up for friends and family when they need me. And I have two, the spirit and the warrior, that came, but I haven't quite. I think the warrior is the fighting through life, I think. But yeah, I haven't quite defined those, but those first three were ones that jumped out immediately. But yeah, I haven't connected them to anyone. They're just names at the moment,
and they might stay just as names. That's why we have the mantra, I am powerful, I am strong, because of the fact that actually that might come later, but you're still connecting to a feeling or an emotion. So actually, if you just have the the I am statement for each of them, then you know, don't worry if the other stuff hasn't come yet, because it will in time.
Yeah, it's, as Natalie was saying, you know, it takes time to really feel and think into all of these allies, and they change over time, and you know, giving yourself that headspace, you know. Yeah, and anyone else before we move on to the meditation?
I was just going to quickly say, Francesca, that they remind me of the Sandman, Neil Gaiman. I don't know if you know that. They're just that kind of concept of death, desire, kind of that. Yeah, anyway.
I know what you mean. Yes, actually.
So, any more volunteers? Or are we all good? Okay, all right then. Well, let's move on to the meditation. So essentially the aim of this meditation is just to give you an idea of all the different resources that are available to you to find your allies, to use your allies in different ways in meditation. So just enjoy the practice and feel into it, and enjoy it. So I did also ask you all to bring a little stone as well. And actually the stone can be used in two ways. I've got a little one here as well. But sometimes actually in meditation, sometimes people do struggle either to connect to the breath or to connect into the present moment. So sometimes when you're holding that stone in your hand, you'll just be feeling into it, feeling into the texture, and you could also be breathing into the stone as well. And you can also, perhaps you may even want to visualize that your ally is in the stone as well. So just lots of different ways that we can explore these things. All right, so let's get ourselves nice and comfortable again, and then just gently closing the eyes. And just getting your hands nice and comfortable as well with your stone in your hand. And you could just start to just gently stroke that stone, feeling the warmth, feeling the comfort. So again, just tuning in. So again, just reminding ourselves of this expansive space that we are in. And that expansive space allows us to invite our allies in, essentially, those tools, those resources. When we create that space outside and within, that's when we can really start to tune in. So taking your awareness from the outside space to the inside space. And again, just allowing the body to soften, to settle. And the first ally that we're going to work with this evening is our breath. And so as you allow the body to soften, we're just going to work on a counting belly breath. So as you inhale, starting to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then pause for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. And inhale for 4. So I'm going to give you just a couple of minutes with this counting breath, just to steady and focus. And our breath here is an inner resource, a tool to bring a sense of calm and steadiness and grounding into this present moment. If you'd like to breathe into the stone as well, if that brings you a sense of comfort, the stone is there as your ally, your aid. See if you can gently focus on the belly breath as well. And at any point, if the thoughts start to wander, that's okay. And just refocus and come back to just focusing on the breath. And it doesn't matter if you need to refocus. I'm not going to judge the mind, just going to be on our breath. Okay, so just gently releasing and letting go of the counting breath. Just coming back to center, to the spontaneity of your breath. Just observing your internal environment. And just noticing how you're feeling. And just allow yourself to feel. We're not going to hold on, we're not going to push it away. We're just going to let it be. And then again, just going to remind ourselves of the ground and the earth beneath us. So when we feel the ground and the earth beneath us, either against the soles of our feet, just reminds us that we are here and now. And then taking your attention to. So we're going to bring one of our allies to mind. So you can either hold your ally in your stone, in your hand. You can have the ally in your heart space. Now with your ally, I'd just like you to, you don't quite know who this ally is yet, but that will be, that'll come together in a moment or so, but you're just walking down a path with this ally. And then as you reach the end of the path, you notice a fairly big hill. And at the top of this hill, you can see someone stood there and they're waving at you. And just about catch sight, and it's your leader, so your leader within. And the hill, this fairly big hill, is a metaphor for something, an emotion, a feeling that is going on for you right now. That might be a bit of a struggle, might be a bit difficult. And so the ally that is now stood next to you starts to present themselves. So who is this ally? So I'd like you to gaze into your ally's eyes. So this will be individual for all of you. Ally smiles at you. And just take a look at the stance of the ally. Maybe looking at the color of their clothes. And again, the ally just gently takes their hand and places it on your shoulder. And the ally says they're going to help you go up the hill. So using the mantra of I am, perhaps bringing to mind 3 words that your ally is telling you that is going to help you to move and walk up that hill. So you're going to walk up that hill together and you'll meet your leader at the top. So thinking of 3 words. And then once you've established those 3 words, I'd like you to repeat those 3 words, saying, I am, as an example, kind, I am powerful. So saying that to yourself 3 times, so you can say that into your stone. You can say that from your heart space. You can say it from whatever is feeling right for you. And then allow that to expand into your whole body. Now, if you're feeling any sense of resistance, so with an emotion that may have arisen and you're feeling perhaps there's a hurt part of your side that is resisting, again, gazing into your ally's eyes, and the ally is there to support and nurture you. Just imagine that that ally is there just nurturing you, sending you as much support and kindness as they can. So that's the ally is wise. So once you've repeated those mantras 3 times, we're going to walk up that hill of struggle. And as you walk up that hill of struggle, the struggle starts to just gently flow away. And you start moving up the hill a lot quicker, perhaps with a sense of excitement, with openness, with lightness. And then you are almost at the top. And just for a moment, you gaze down. So you look behind you, you look down that hill. And just look at how far you've come. And then for a moment, you might sort of stutter or not quite sure if you can keep going. And then just repeat that mantra to yourself again. And then again, continue up that hill. Your ally is there to support you. Reaching the top. As you reach the top, your leader is stood there. And perhaps your leader, yourself, and your ally, you're all joining hands. And you realize that your leader and your ally are a part of you. They are you. So as you realize that your leader and your ally are you really, that you have those tools and those resources within you, then start to allow that sense of openness and stability and strength, knowing that everything you need is within you, feeling that from your heart space. So perhaps taking your hand to your heart for a moment, or keeping your hands around the stone, whatever is feeling good for you. And can you visualize that expanse, that strength, that truth, that everything you have is here already? Feeling that positive energy. Just like you to sit with this energy just for a moment. Perhaps allow that energy to expand out of your body as well. You could visualize that bright light. And then just gently coming back to center again. So just mindfully just allowing your energy just to come back to your stone, your heart. And again, you look to your ally and your leader and they smile at you and they say, "You've got it from here." And they just gently walk the way down the hill. And then you're just stood there for a moment. And again, feeling into your stone, feeling the texture, feeling the warmth. And we can use our stone as a gratitude stone as well. So at the end of our days, taking the stone in your hand and thinking about your day. And as you think about your day, I'd like you just to think of the best thing that's happened. So picking out one thing that's gone really well for you and just holding that perhaps in your mind's eye just for a moment, feeling that from the stone. And then gently taking your stone and perhaps placing it in your pocket. And then you start to walk back down that hill. As you walk down that hill, getting to the bottom, and then walking down the path. And then as you come towards the end of the path, just reminding yourselves of where you are. Feeling the breath, feeling the body, acknowledging the mind. And then when you're ready, just gently opening your eyes. So yeah, that was just to give you a bit of a taster of all the different resources that we have available to us in meditation. Lots of different things we can play with there, visually, physically, emotionally. And yeah, so Natalie, how are we doing for time?
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're going to go into a short breakout room now, whereby you're actually going to be able to in almost like interview or be curious, lean into asking and exploring some questions about your appreciator or one of your other allies. So maybe it's the one that came through in the meditation. Maybe you could follow on that thinking, and basically using that other person as a bit of a mirror to kind of work through and deepen some of that. So you're actually going to be asking those 4 questions to each other. We'll put them in the chat box just so you can remember them, but they are: what is the role? What is your role in my life? What can you tell me about my values? How do you contribute to my journey? And what can you tell me about my life purpose? But it might be that maybe you only want to answer 1 or 2. It's about just getting a little bit more information at this point. Okay. So we're only going to probably be in there 5 minutes or so. So you probably only have like 2.5 minutes each, but I will pop a note in just for you to switch over. And then we'll come back, do a quick debrief, and then everyone can run off in their different directions and watch the football if that's what you want to do. But hopefully that meditation helped, because I think it's important to just give us some space for this. So yeah, amazing. Okay, I'm going to put Fiona with me because we're going to carry on our conversation from earlier, and then I'm going to distribute everyone else. So just give me a second to do this. Oh, why is that going weirdly? Okay, hang on a minute. Okay, right. There we go. Okay, cool. So you should start getting the invitations through. You can do that. I'm doing this manually this time. Right, there you go. Cool. All right, you should get invited to a room. And like I said, I will just post the questions. I think I can post them. Yeah, I'll broadcast them. You can add a broadcast, so they'll be in the room when you're in there. But maybe just kind of pick 1 or 2 that resonate and work through those together. All right, I'll give you 5 minutes. Off you go. Okay, I am just, give me a second, because I'm just going to broadcast a message to everybody. God, it feels like I'm more powerful, doesn't I, with all my technology skills here. Talk me through how that meditation went for you. What were you able to connect with? Were you able to pick out one of your allies?
Yeah, I went with connection, the chakras.
Okay.
So just imagine these little chakra symbols, just like with legs and arms so they can walk.
I love that. And what yeah, was there any learning? Like what was it? Was there any particular guidance, or was it more just kind of a feeling that you weren't alone?
Yeah, there wasn't anything specific that came up. Yeah, it was quite, and those kind of visualizations, I always find they stick for a little bit and then they kind of fall away, and then I'm like, oh yeah, where has it gone? And you kind of got to go looking for it again. But that was a good one. I really liked that one.
Yeah, that's interesting. And let's dig into that. Sorry, I'm just doing this message and I'll be
no, carry on.
Right, so that has now being broadcasted. So I think that people should see that now. Cool. And then I'll just tell them when it's 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's at the top of our screen. Yeah.
Ah, perfect. So so let's dig into that a little bit more then, in terms of trying to access it almost through like an image. So thinking a little bit about, explain it to me, explain like the energy of this ally. Kind of, it does it feel light? Does it feel dark? Does it look a certain way? Where do you feel it? Any of that land?
So no, it feels hopeful, I would say. Hopeful, and yeah, healing keeps popping up, but it's not just like a healing, it's like a connection. And I kind of felt it in my chest, but that's where I feel most things.
Yeah, that's the same with me.
Yeah, like it'll still be like it's like a movement of energy is probably the only way I can describe it, but it's always in my chest. It doesn't matter what it's about, I always get it in my chest.
Okay. And you said earlier about like the chakras as well. Where do you think that fits here in terms of how does that link to the healing?
I think for me it's just about the energy flow.
Okay.
And it not just being like about the healing, about the emotions, like we were saying about the emotions in your body, and heal it, and just what's going on in your body as well probably is more not just like a physical healing, but like an emotional healing, and just getting energy moving like it should be and not stagnating. And
okay. And we talked a bit about what was the kind of struggle that you were thinking about up the hill. What was the kind of scenario?
There wasn't anything. Nothing specific came up. No.
Okay. Because and we were speaking earlier about a situation where this ally would be quite useful. Remind me which situation, or is there a situation whereby you think this energy could be a good one to test out in terms of that kind
there was one, wasn't there? But I can't remember what I said.
Yeah, I thought there was one earlier.
Yeah, I didn't write that bit down. Typical, the only bit of our conversation I didn't write down. No, I don't remember what it was.
You said about, was it the whole vibing with the yoga teacher bit?
Yes, it was. I
wrote vibing yoga teacher. Okay, and I think that felt like it felt like compassion, didn't it? You kind of
and just a combination of that and presence, and would be have compassion in it, and and is just there not getting stuck in his energy probably.
Exactly. It feels like a really good example, doesn't it, for you to be able to, and the whole space thing of giving the situation space too. Is there anyone in your life at the moment that you think gives off that kind of energy to you, that you feel when you're around them, this sense of connection, healing? Is there anyone you know that gives off that energy at the present time?
Probably not so much like a healing energy, but the people that give me space. Like my best friend that I was telling you about earlier, and then that's that blue box back. And then my other friend Rachel, they're probably the two people that I feel like there's space. I have space there. Yeah.
Okay. And how do they, through their behavior, because this is linking it back to the behavior, how through their behavior do they offer you that space?
I think it's just listening and reacting in a certain way when you tell them things, not in a reactive way, almost just in a like, okay, kind of way, that kind of energy. Just
there's almost like there's no judgment. And there's again compassion, right? Because you're not you're being there and feeling what that person's feeling, but you're not putting a label or trying to understand it or judging in any way as well. And that's actually a direct reflection back to the yoga teacher vibing, because you were like,
exactly.
Your friend mirroring is like, they might not understand completely your growth journey at the moment, but they're absolutely just with you on that journey, not trying to understand it, not trying to offer any
Yeah.
judgment or make any comment. So
I
actually,
think they do understand it. I think the both of them do understand it. Yeah.
makes it easier for them.
So maybe that helps. Yeah, exactly. You're not having to explain where you're coming from or why you're doing it or why you think it's necessary. You can just kind of explain that you're doing it rather than coming up with a reason for it.
And with this one in particular, because we've spoken about it a little bit more, I think what I'd like you to, I'm going to set you a challenge, which is about connecting, finding a word, object, color, or smell, anything that helps you bring this ally to life, I think. Because for me, I think when you've actually connected that with one of them, I think then it'll be easier for you to go back and replicate that process with the others, because this is the one I think we've spoken about more. And how does it make you feel, or hearing everyone else's approaches to this? Because there's probably a lot of permission in the fact that everyone has a completely different way of doing it.
Yeah, it's quite nice, isn't it? It's quite nice. And I think when everybody's speaking, you're kind of like, there's little bits that you can pick out of each of them, isn't that's what I quite like. Just that there are little bits that you can think, oh, okay, so I like that bit, or that, oh, that makes sense, or just, it's interesting to hear how other people interpret as well. I think it's really interesting.
Really, really different for a lot of people. My final question before I bring everyone back is who, because this a lot of this work is about being who we are when we give ourselves full permission, right? So who are you when you give yourself full permission? Like, what words come up? Because then that's a challenge back to think about some of those words being present in those allies and that leader within.
It's just, whenever I think about it, it does come back to my values. That's what pop into my mind.
So it's the values being honored, and that's interesting, isn't it?
I know. Yeah, it is. But yeah, so that's what comes out. But it's like Lizzie was saying, it all comes back to your values, which I think that's quite nice, that everything I'm thinking about does come back to them. It kind of makes you feel like they're the right values.
But the values are the compass, right? So like if the compass, set your compass, then you're not going to get where you're going. So for me, this work supplements the values, but that's why that month one is critical, because actually without that, we haven't got the right navigation tools.
No, exactly.
But we're kind of, losing, we're off course. Which is really interesting. And captain or leader within, does that resonate more? Which term?
So the leader within resonates more, but my leader within is called the captain.
That's so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, because as soon as the captain as a concept doesn't really like vibe, but the captain as the leader within does.
Again, it's just a lot of this is about language, isn't it? As to
totally. Yeah, completely.
I had a chat with Lizzie about the interview bit, and we both agreed that we're gonna make that about an inquiry into kind of sitting with and having a
I think it just feels like there's more, because interview, you kind of feel like, for me anyway, I feel like you either get it right or you get it wrong.
And it puts you under pressure to have all the answers now, whereas actually if you're
exactly
with or sitting with your ally, then actually it's about figuring out a little bit more in this moment, but then the next time you meet you might learn a little bit more. Whereas the interview, it's like one chance only, like you got to do it now.
That's what I mean. It's either you get it right or you get it wrong. Oh well. So
exactly.
Oh, thank you so much, I appreciate this. Thank you.
No worries. Right, let me bring everyone back. And
I know, don't want Francesca to be late with her pals.
She's like, I've got the prawn salad on, or whatever she said. I'm actually not. Are you into the football? Do you watch it?
No, I'll watch if Steve's here, but I'm not really. No, I'm not really interested. Some of the bigger games are okay, but I'm just like, meh.
I know what you. I know. I feel like this year though, the hype has been really massive, hasn't it?
Just that's because it's something different.
Actually doing okay. That's the difference. Hi guys, how did you get on?
Exactly. Minor details.
Good.
Was it useful to mirror back some of those questions to each other?
Yes.
It was very much, actually.
What was the question that was like most helpful, do you think?
Oh, I don't know that we did it that specifically, I'm afraid. Sorry.
Sometimes one jumps out and it's like, because for me it was like, what do you contribute to my journey? That question, I was like, oh, there's something about that question, I was like, it's really interesting. But yeah, if you had a generic conversation, that's great.
Yeah,
Great
when
too.
I did it at home, it was kind of, how do you, what's the one with
Sorry, Maria.
what can you tell me about my values?
Yeah.
That one was also quite like, oh yeah, how do you
That's what
fit into
me
that
and,
side?
Fiona were just saying, it's about, yeah, the link back to the values is really helpful to be reminded that they all come through in that way, and us all kind of always coming back to that as the compass. Like the values have to be set, like for you to set the compass at the beginning, or actually everything's off course because we're not actually headed where we're meant to be heading. Cool. And how did everyone else get on?
It's just, I think we're both trying to work out what the allies truly mean and when we need to use them. I don't know, because I was just saying, I remember, Natalie, you talking about like having a crew as well, and I didn't jump forward, but I just, but what's the kind of difference between allies and the crew? Because if you're naming people in your life that are your allies, and how does that differ from the crew as well?
Yeah, really good question, because that's, yeah, perfectly leading me on as well, because we are having a break next week, because that's another 3 weeks, so we break every 3 weeks, but then we'll be coming back, and the kind of like segue into life purpose is the crew. So the crew is our external tribe, so it's our physical tribe, so it's the actual people in our lives that we choose to have in our front row. So it might be that you have a joker or a friend that's really light and helps you connect to the value of joy. There might be someone that you go to for advice that's like that's wisdom. So again, it's, for me, I want you to learn that you have it all within you to start with, because actually we only need ourselves, but it's about when we have what we need or know that everything's within us, we can then choose other people to then complement and further add to that. Like I was saying about the whole, like me loving Cancer energy, subconsciously I just am attracted to a slightly different energy, a really feminine energy, because of the nature of the fact that I'm quite in a masculine energy. So again, we find ourselves like, yeah, just liking being around certain different people. Does that help? And a lot of people with this bit if you don't have seats, we call about, we kind of say like some seats not being taken. If seats aren't taken, that's a beautiful opportunity to go out and find that. Right, so if we don't have the seat of the medical, like we kind of use captain terminology, but we'll talk through kind of what they're about if that doesn't resonate. But it's about, if you don't have someone to fulfill that role, create a new role, but also there'll be someone out there that can. It's getting really clear, and that's where my manifestation comes in, around actually being able to draw in and attract what we want in our lives as well. Does that help you understand the difference?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
I love about to say that's my favorite bit, but I say that in all of it. I'm like, I'll stop saying that. That isn't, I'll be lying. Anyone else that wants to feedback on anything that, like, before we close, or if you need to run as in Francesca, please do, if you need to go. But yeah, just want to debrief anything that cropped up that was useful in those mini coaching.
Sorry, I am going to run because I can hear my daughter creating havoc with my friends. Have a lovely evening, guys, and see you in a couple of weeks.
You too. Enjoy the football.
Yeah. Thank you, and to whoever else is watching it.
Any other comments of anything that people want to share just after that kind of short one-to-one coaching? Are you coaching each other?
I think Caroline and I were chatting as well about sort of where she's got all this work so that it's kind of, you know, line of sight and meaningful and there. And I think what was really interesting is she's got a proper place for it, which I think I will do, but also changing it out regularly and making it and updating it and bringing it for seasons and stuff like that. Yeah, just really that's next week's job. Basically, I think, yeah, find a place.
Yeah, I love that. Again, we all have different ways of bringing this through and connecting with this work, and you know, it's creating a ritual out of that, but almost that physical space. as well.
Yeah.
So you're going to go through and do the rest of that module, and before the next call I'm actually going to flip the content a little bit, because I do want you to go and do the stuff on your crew before our call, because I think then you get to have your own perspective on it rather than me frame it like I normally do and then get you to reflect it back to me. You'll go into that and have your own interpretation, which I think is quite a nice way of doing it. So you've got 2 weeks, but obviously you'll be working through a module and a half, pretty much. We'll come back, do the crew, and then we'll be on life purpose. So there will be quite a bit that I'll send throughout the next few weeks just to keep you guys on track and just to give you kind of other bits to feed in really on that. But yeah, that being said, I won't overly keep you if you all have to run. But thank you so much, Lizzie, for that session today, because I feel like, again, you're the feminine, I'm the masculine. We're a nice balance there of offering something different as well, because we all connect to different approaches. Amazing.
Thanks, everyone.
Natalie, can you just point out which numbers we're doing on the course?
Yeah, I'll send an email with your normal like update with the Word documents that are helpful, and I'll literally make it really clear where you stop.
Thank you.
Basically, you stop at module 3. Anything life purpose related, you don't
Okay.
at the moment. But I'll highlight that in the email. I'll give you all the physical Word documents as well for that. All right.
Fab. See you in a couple of weeks.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Lizzie.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.